The Back Our Chappies bus tour has come to an end. In the last 3 weeks, our faithful little yellow bus has made its way all around the state. We visited 25 different communities, giving the team an opportunity to meet with hundreds of LCC members and thousands of children and families across Queensland who've turned out in support of SU Queensland school chaplains. This past week, the bus has been to Gladstone, Bundaberg, Hervey Bay, Maryborough, Gympie, Sunshine Coast, Caboolture, Gold Coast, Warwick and Stanthorpe. Despite pouring rain for much of the final week, this past few days has been extraordinary, and it's been a pleasure to see so many people come out in support of their chappie despite the weather.
I got injured at work and couldn't go back to that or things I'd done previously. So I spent quite a while off work on compo and sickness benefits, and during that time I was volunteering with Teen Challenge, working with highly at-risk kids, a lot of kids from families with addictions and various types of abuse going on. And I loved it. I find I related to those kids really well. Then I started teaching RE at Maroochydore High School and became the RE coordinator there. That's about 20 years ago now. And then I heard about chaplaincy. It was very small in those days, and I heard about the job, came up at Nambour Burnside and applied for it and got it and never looked back. I can't think of a job that is more impacting and a role that is more impacting, particularly for someone who wants to follow what Christ said to do and look after the poor, because the poor in our nation are our kids. They've got it really tough these days. And when we're talking about the least of these, there's no more the least of these than our kids in our schools. They're doing it really tough. I spend a lot of my time, probably 80% of my time, with what I call my TREC groups, which are groups that meet weekly. They're a pastoral care group, if you like. We meet weekly, we learn about trust, problem solving, bond building, relationships, how to treat other people, and the groups grow very close. There was a girl many years ago, joined my TREC program, said she didn't have any problems, and probably didn't at the time, but her whole life was built on a lie because her parents' perfect marriage turned out to be a sham and they separated, and she started drinking too much and abusing her body in other ways, and she really struggled with her self-worth. She thought she was rubbish because of the things that had happened to her. Dad rejected her. Mum was a very harsh sort of disciplinarian. And she used to come to my office and we'd talk for hours sometimes, and she'd cry and sometimes I'd cry because it was so sad to see her going through this, and she was harming herself and she was suicidal and all these sorts of things. And later that year on her graduation day, I asked her and her group to sit down and just write something about what it meant to have a chaplain in the TREC group. And she said to me, "I'm alive because of you, Matt, because in those dark nights, those long dark nights when I didn't want to be around anymore, I knew I could come to school on Monday and be loved." And that's what kept me going. So that's a story I will never forget.
No matter what happens over the coming weeks and months, this bus tour has strengthened our belief that schools have never needed their chappie more, and that as a community we can and will keep chaplains in our schools.